my only criticism would be like, if you can beat the stalking injunction and it's shown that you used false evidence or that it was weaponized, you should have to pay attorney's fees.
Oh man, we are ready. Today is the Utah Business Spotlight. I am your host, Peter Anthony. You need to like, you need to subscribe, but the most important thing is to share these fantastic Utah businesses with your community so that we can get more exposure for our Utah business family. I am with my friend Goud, and he is crushing it in the legal sphere of really cool stuff to do. We're going to talk about a lot of different things today. And you know, I love legal opinion. This is just ideas and opinions, things that he's working on, and personal thoughts. If you want to lambaste us, if you want to come after me, well, man, I'm easy to find. We're at Bad Bed Studios and Club Social in Sandy, Utah. Come on down. I'm Italian. I'm never afraid of a good debate or a good debate. We don't want to get into a fight, but we want to have a good debate. God, welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
And we were just teasing you about your name sounding very Italian, right? It's Maragani.
Yeah. You know, like I said, there is a beach in Sicily called Maragani Beach. I actually studied in Italy for a summer, and I would go tell people my name, and they'd be like, "You mean Maragani?"
Yeah, I was saying it Maragani.
Yeah.
Right? And it's Maragani.
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 Yeah, it's not said like the Italians say it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love Italy, love their food.
Cool.
I wish I was from there.
I spent a year in Rome. I loved it.
Yeah.
And we're going back and taking my children for the first time. They'll see their Italian heritage, so that'll be
Very cool.
just a tremendous amount of fun. So we're really excited about having you on. Thank you for coming on to the Utah Business Spotlight. But I want to spotlight some things you're working on because you're working on some cool stuff. I've known you lightly for a little while. We met at the Capitol. You know, I hang out there because all my friends are politicians, right? So,
Sorry.
And I know, right? And I'm generally cruising around by the AG's offices, like saying, "Oh, please." So, but we love being involved, and that's why we generally are there. And you're so involved. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on today and how exciting it is and what that might look like for the Utah business community.
Yeah, so I have a couple things that I work on. I do a weekly radio show that you can find on my X handle. It's called the Goud Crowd, and my X handle is @Goud4Utah, and we hit on current topics. It's very Utah focused. We have lots of interviews of people coming in. It's live, people can call in, and that I like that because we can kind of help expose issues, get the great people we have some exposure, because a lot of times our mainstream media doesn't reach out to like the grassroots people. And
we have incredible business entrepreneurs here. Like it's really a plethora. It's certainly our marketing company agency's called the Incubator.
Oh.
But it was called that prior to getting here. And but since we're here, I mean, Silicon Slopes is an incubator for incredible business ideas.
It is, yeah. And we have, you know, so I also have a law practice. It's called the Maragani Law Group. And I focus on litigation, so civil litigation. And a lot of my clients are actually political. And I think some of the most prominent ones that people know about is I do represent Phil Lyman. And we have a couple of lawsuits going on right now. One of them is in federal court.
Oh, goody. We're going to press you to tell us more about the lawsuits. I know you can't disclose everything because it's actually a lawsuit. But I love the drama of it.
So much drama.
So much drama. But you know, back to our previous conversation before we started rolling film, the interesting part about law is your job as a litigator really is to help make sure that compliancy within the law exists, right? So is this being interpreted in the way it was meant to be interpreted, and are we following those interpretations? I would imagine.
It is, and it requires really a deep dive into factual issues, right? I think a lot of times people get attorneys, they think, oh, this attorney is really cheap, they're well priced, and then they don't go and they do the deep dive.
Cheap is expensive, ladies and gentlemen. Cheap, expensive.
It is. You know, I've had clients come to me who have picked a lawyer because they were cheap, and then they don't do the groundwork you need to do, the grunt work, to be able to actually win the case. I deal with these. I've dealt with a couple of them now. Stalking injunction cases, where
Stalking,
stalking,
like someone's following me around, stalking.
yeah, allegedly,
Right, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
So someone might be I feel threatened by their presence because it's pushing in, it's breaking that safe zone.
Yeah, yeah, and so what'll happen is you have to show that there was a course of conduct aimed at you.
A course of
threatened you.
conduct.
Yeah, it's 2 or more actions that threatened you, that made you feel uncomfortable, gave you emotional distress. And I've had left-wing advocates that have weaponized that system against conservatives. In order to beat them, though, you have to go through and do the factual grunt work. You need to look through their social media. You've got to watch their videos. I've been watching this, I'll just call her a lunatic. I've been watching her videos, and it takes hours. I've got to go through all her videos and listen to her and see what she's talking about, see how she is targeting my client, so that I can then go to court and make the best case possible for him to show that this stalking injunction should have never been entered and it should be canceled.
Right. So. And we were sharing the reason that the stalking injunctions are immediately fulfilled is because we have to, as a society, we have to rule on the side of safety, because we worked with some groups when I was living in Vegas. Very proud to say, November 6th, Peter Anthony Day in Las Vegas. The mayor named a day after me.
Really?
After we had done some really great service work for a group called the Shade Tree.
Wow.
And Shade Tree was designed for women of domestic violence, right?
Yeah.
So there is a spot where if a woman has the courage to come forward and say, listen, man, I'm getting knocked around by my husband, like, this is, or even by my domestic partner, that's a very serious and very real thing that requires immediate protection. So that's why I would imagine that's where the law protects us, because if we create that injunction, then we can protect people, hopefully.
Yes, I am not criticizing the judges. What happens is someone applies for the civil stalking injunction. The judge will pretty much grant the temporary civil stalking injunction, and then the person against whom the stalking injunction has been entered has an opportunity to challenge it.
Right.
So
and that's the spot, right? It's temporary.
Yes.
It's temporary. So anybody out there who thinks that they're just going to create an injunction, you have to be careful because it's temporary. Once it's reversed, you become the stalker.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, my only criticism would be like, if you can beat the stalking injunction and it's shown that you used false evidence or that it was weaponized, you should have to pay attorney's fees to the respondent, right?
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
Are you creating legislation around that? Because I think that it seems like a no-brainer. Like, if you're going to falsely accuse me of something, and I can prove that you falsely accused me of something, and I now incur expenses against that, I do have the right to sue you civilly to recoup, sort of, right?
I mean, it's difficult,
weak.
right? Yeah, I would say I've been talking to legislators about it. Hopefully we'll see some movement on it. The reality is, as I've worked on a lot of legislation with our elected officials here, and we move kind of incrementally in Utah. That's the culture, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Slow and steady.
Very
slow.
Very slow and steady, which I appreciate. That's kind of.
I love that it's a conservative state.
Yeah, and that's the LDS culture. Is that I'm not LDS, but I appreciate it, and they are very deliberate, and they want to move kind of they want to be very careful. That's fine. Sure. So hopefully we'll get some movement on it this session.
Oh, I think that's great, man. So exciting to be involved in things like that. What else you got in? What else is showing up in that's really focused on your repertoire of expertise?
Well, like I said, the election law cases I think are actually some of the ones that would really interest people.
Yeah, let's talk about election law. So I'll just state for the record, I'm about a fair and free and accountable election. Yep. I can tell you that we experienced in Las Vegas, where I was very prominent and hung with a very prominent crowd on the Republican side, we experienced tens of thousands of mail-in voter fraud that was absolutely presented and then thrown out because of various things. But we did show that there was voter fraud, and there was thousands of pieces of voter fraud. And in a close election, like, sometimes in like Arizona, is it Maricopa?
Yep. Yeah, their biggest
Maricopa County.
Yeah.
Right? They're always like to the wire. Maybe the difference of 1,000 votes,
Yep.
which really says, hey, man, we want an open, fair, and free. And I want to be able to, I'm just talking as a citizen. I'm not making accusations. But as a citizen, I'd like to, A, make sure that everybody has ID, right? Because if I need an identification to drive a car, or I need identification to take out a library book,
Yep.
or buy cigarettes, or every time, I'm 61 years old, every time I'm in a restaurant here in Utah, and I ask, and my wife's not LDS, I happen to go to an LDS church, so I no longer drink, but because she might want a sip of a beer, and in her 50s, they still want to see both of our ID. I clearly look like I'm over 21.
No.
You're kind. I knew I liked you. But yeah, so I don't think that it doesn't make sense to say, like, here's the thing, man. We want to get you to be able to come out and vote.
Yeah.
But we require, that you're a legal citizen eligible to vote in the local, state, and federal election.
Yep.
Wouldn't that make sense?
It makes 100% sense. And so I represent Phil in a lawsuit under the National Voter Registration Act. It's a federal law that allows us to get the full voter registration rolls. We actually, I'm the lawyer that helped develop the case with him. And then once we tried to go through our GRAMA process, so that's our public records process, and work with the Lieutenant Governor's office to get those voter records. They declined and they refused.
They declined?
Yeah.
In Utah?
In Utah, yep. And
what are you going to uncover? Why would they decline? It's a public record.
That's a good question.
Right?
Yeah.
And my wife runs into this all the time with she's an advocate and her partners are attorneys.
Yeah.
And they run into this all the time asking for public documents. And they get the runaround.
Yeah.
How do you give them the runaround? It's public. Hello?
Well, no, but they'll hide. They'll give you 60% of the voter records.
Sure.
40% they'll hide. And I think the question is, what's in the 40%? Why can't we see it?
Yeah.
So we're in federal court on that one now, and I don't know what the timeline is for getting a decision, but we'll see what happens with that.
I love that. So much cool. Being in federal court,
Yeah.
arguing the good fight. I love that,
Yeah,
man. It's
it'll
so
be-
cool. You do cool things, man.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And another one that people probably want to pay attention to is in state court, but I represent Michael Clara in a lawsuit trying to get records related to the 2024 primary election and signature fraud that happened in terms of candidates gathering signatures, in this case the governor, gathering signatures, not having enough, and then this is about what happened after that. They covered it up. And it's
The
gonna be
auto
fascinating.
pen.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm telling you, it's going to be good stuff. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all the details, but
No.
it's, I did a whole podcast, like a whole radio show about it where I actually went in detail. Like, it's drama. It could be a book. It could be a book one day.
Well, you should hold on to that because that's how, because litigation pays. But as you were saying, sometimes the attorney's fees don't get reimbursed, so you
Yeah.
wind up, you're doing a lot of pro bono work. So I would highly recommend turning some of these into books because they're readable, they're legible, they're interesting, they're exciting, but they're also educational. As citizens, it's our responsibility. We have a fiduciary responsibility in becoming a citizen of the United States. And this is where I think, I don't want to get overly political, but I do have opinions. And one of my opinions is if you're a citizen of this country, then you have a responsibility to not only just to protect the country, but to help it grow, to help it sustain, to help it be balanced and fair. And we're not seeing that in our political spectrum right now. We're hyper-focusing on the niche groups with the loudest voices, which I believe are probably a great way, it seems, that might be a great way to distract the people from the cases that are actually impacting them in ways they're not aware, right?
Yeah, I would say, like the 2024 election to me raised questions about, in Utah, I'll be specific, in Utah, raised questions about how fair our elections actually are and how many shenanigans are going on in the background. I don't want to say
So
fraud.
much shenanigans.
We don't have proof of fraud everywhere, but
No, it just what I've seen doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
I'm just saying I've seen things that don't make sense. I'm sure that they make sense to somebody, but they didn't make sense to me. So it's just like, hey, man, and it's interesting. We're in the 21st century, and we're into it, right? We're in the age of AI, and we're into an opportunity where we can be a force for good, or we can follow someone else's status quo that's not actually revealing it to us. And all I want is transparency.
yeah,
That's it.
100%.
And then an opportunity to present two sides of a debate, and for us to, prior to the debate, agree that the side that presents the best argument, the most compelling and passionate reasoning that gets voted in, gets followed and undisrupted.
Yeah.
Because there's some things that really are like, you look at congressmen and women, our elected officials calling for our armed forces to not pay attention to the commander-in-chief's orders, which by definition is dangerous.
Yeah.
Just by definition, if you break the chain of command, or if you give today's generation the opportunity to be, a military operation is not designed around independent thinking throughout the chain.
It is not.
And
that is correct.
But to not even understand that is dangerous. And we just have to agree that if someone's elected, I did not vote for Biden, but he was the president of the United States, I will never openly or publicly, I would never say that he was not my president. He was my president. I did not vote for him, but the will of my brothers and sisters and fellow citizens compel me to support him, because that's what makes America America.
Yeah.
Is a free and fair election. My side loses, your side wins. Cool, man. We support your side. And then we'll put up an argument, and we'll create a narrative, and we will then try to compel our passions. And that's the idea of our system, right?
Yeah.
You would imagine.
Well, I'll just, on what you're saying, my only change would be this. I think in Utah itself, which is where I tend to focus, is like state and local, where I think we can have the biggest impact. What we want is transparency, to your point. And yeah, I just want the best. Let's have the debates. Let's have town halls. Let's have our elected officials
I'd love
debating.
town halls. Let's go. Town hall.
And then
we've got a space right here. We should have a town hall here.
There you go. Yeah, right here.
At
Do it right
Bad
here.
Productions.
And then you can have, let's have the best arguments win.
Yeah.
And I don't care if my fellow voters disagree with me on issues, I'm okay with that, as long as we were having the debates and then we're having a transparent and secure election system to make the decisions.
Sure.
Then I think we're good, because you're not going to win everything.
And you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Really, truthfully, I want us to be, here's what my wish is for the business community. And I'm going to tell you as a business owner, here's where I really am nervous for our other business owners. I have watched conservative business owners maintain a conservative position, and has that negatively impact their business, their ability to promote their businesses via social platforms that are, I don't know, it seems to me interesting. Like if you look at the origin of Facebook or X, or where did their original or big chunks of their original funding come from, and their original support, well, I would highly recommend do the due diligence, see who was involved in Facebook for the first 3 to 5 years, and answer your own questions. But they are clearly, at one point, they were. I probably would say they were. I don't want to speak for Mark Zuckerberg, but I would say he was between a rock and a hard place, right? Because you have a responsibility to be responsible about the information you allow to dissipate, and then you have a level of compassion for your ownership of that information. Like, what do you believe? But you also have the responsibility to let both sides, talk about it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I just disagree with you on this point, and that is that Mark Zuckerberg, he censored people, and the information he censored was actually correct, and it could have hurt people. So that's kind of.
Well, I don't think we disagree.
Yeah,
I think that I think I was just stating that in a very like he's in a rock and a hard. But here's where the rock and the hard place is. He was censoring people. But the antithesis of that coin, he was censoring them on behalf of the government, which he might have believed is presenting the argument to save people's lives. Because if you're, in a pandemic, it's called a pandemic. It's worldwide. It's global. It's scary. We all everybody was sick. I'm not going to create a conspiracy theory about the fact that it was sick. How we get cured, like everybody gets colds, all of those things, and remember, at some point, doctors leached people. No one would do that today, but it was considered, standard practice. So if you want to follow the science, then okay, cool, but we need both sides representing equally. And to my point, my actual point is, I don't care if they were right or wrong. I care that you censored them because you believed that they were wrong. Yeah. And it proved to be right, but you've already ruined them.
Yep.
And that level of censorship is, and you see it happening in the UK all the time now, people going to jail for saying things that are like maybe a little not in alignment or a lockstep with the current trend. Whoa, like what is that? Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, I guess I think we do agree. My idea is giving him more grace than I would.
I'm trying to be. I don't want. Listen, dude. I don't want you to take down my account. I'm nervous. And that's the thing. We've had our accounts of our clients taken down in 15 minutes.
Wow.
Like we've put up something and it was gone, and it's like never to be back.
Yep.
Like holy cow.
Yeah.
So if you can't express an opinion, and I think there needs to be legislation around that for our social media, because even though it's privately owned, it's a public forum.
Yep.
So can you truly, and I'd love to discuss this with you over dinner, right? We could go have some yummy dinner, and should we be arguing that privately held spaces that offer public opinions should have to uphold public law?
Yeah.
Right?
We should definitely talk about that over dinner. I have thoughts about it.
I do too. Yeah. But I think it's a big conversation. Yeah. And I don't know that I have the answer, but I know that I have the feeling. I don't ever want to see Utah businesses or any business in the United States censored for their ownership having an opinion that's not in lockstep with others. And I don't take sides. I mean, I would protect someone who maybe didn't agree with me, completely outside of supporting something that's illegal. But if I like red and you like blue, my love of red should not create hardship for my family.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've struggled with this myself because I used to work in a company and I had left-wing groups come and they targeted me and they pressured them to fire me and they were successful. And that's why.
That's what I'm saying. That's so unfair.
Yeah, but the end result of this though was I started my own practice. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I don't have a website, and one of the reasons I don't have a website is because those same left-wing activists, they track me and I didn't want them to go and write all sorts of bad Google reviews. So everything I've had to do has been word of mouth.
Left-wing activists.
Yeah.
I'm Italian. Don't track him. I'm just telling you, it won't turn out well. Just letting you know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, but it's one of those things, because it's threatening. It's scary. It's nerve-wracking. My wife has a big opinion as an advocate in the school system, right, which is one of the sacred cows you can't touch.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't mess with the teachers union. And I'm like, the teachers union is one of the things that needs to be dismantled. It's dysfunctional. Not that I'm against teachers and not that I'm against unions. I'm just against the idea that it's almost impossible to get fired as long as you stay in lockstep. It's like, well, hold on a second. And it's interesting when we're going a little further than I wanted to go, but I want to finish this thought. Okay. But it is interesting to me when parents had opinions and ideas and they would show up at school meetings, and the teachers were like, you don't get to say that. And as far as I understood, teachers are compensated with taxpayer money, and they're representatives of the taxpayer. So how does the taxpayer not get heard?
Yeah.
That's where I have a disconnect in the evolution of where we went. But we could talk forever, brother. What are your closing thoughts? Let's let my team wrap this one up. We're not going to put a bow on it, but we're going to tell you there's going to be more with Goud. It's Watch Goud?
Goud Crowd.
Goud Crowd. Oh, man, I love it. The Goud Crowd. And because he has an Italian last name, even if he doesn't want to admit it, he's a good-looking man. We're going to make sure we protect him. No more stalkers.
No, what I would say is, look, if you're a conservative and you are looking for an attorney, I think I'm your guy. I can help. I think it's helpful to have someone in your corner who actually will not judge you for your personal views, but will try to do their best to defend you or to prosecute the lawsuits that you are trying to be successful on.
Man, we love that. We're grateful for you, Goud. I'm really grateful and honored that you came on Utah Business Spotlight. We're going to spotlight you. Follow Goud, find him, listen to what he's doing, and show him some love and support online. This is the Utah Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Peter Anthony. Man, we're taking everything to the next level. We did a deep dive today. It went a little longer than I thought it should. But, man, we've got opinions, and those opinions turn into likes, leads, and shares.